Hello and welcome to video number 1, which is the introduction. So let's talk about the game plan. So the overall view of this is to try to build authority first by providing some really targeted content, showing people that you know what you're talking about, and that will actually result in trust. So a lot of times, if you want to move into any market, the fastest way to build a following is to show that you know what you're talking about. So in other words, if you don't know what you're talking about in a particular niche, then that can become problematic. So it's going to be more valuable for you and more profitable for you to understand what you are selling. So for example, if you're doing something like affiliate marketing and you are not as familiar with the niche, then you need to step aside and do a little bit of research, do a little bit studying to understand who you're targeting, what their mindset is, and how they talk, because different communities talk differently. Different communities have different ways of speaking, different words they use, and all of that, different abbreviations, for example. So aside from that, I want you to realize that if you haven't been on Twitter, or you have, you'll notice that content on Twitter moves very fast. So in other words, you post a piece of content and that can literally go down the page because so many people are posting content after content. So you have to realize that Twitter moves very, very fast. It's not like a lot of other social media platforms like Instagram, where somebody makes a post and then everybody views the post and all that. Twitter moves so fast that a lot of times people will be tweeting sometimes within a few minutes, just tons and tons of posts, because it's about 140 characters or less. So keep that in mind. When you get involved in this is why you need to know what you're selling or the niche really well. Because if you know it really well, then it's going to come to your mind really fast, right? So in a fast-paced, moving environment, you will be able to move fairly quick. Now, if you haven't had this experience before, you can try it out, and as you utilize the system, it'll get easier over time. So just to recap, we're going to focus on authority by providing really good content really, really fast. Now, the mindset here that I want you to take is this. A lot of times people get in Twitter, they really focus on building the brand, uploading their logos and all of that. But the mindset that I want you to take in this case is to focus less on you and more on your prospects. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't upload your logos or all that. You should definitely brand your Twitter account. But when I say focus less on you and more on your prospects, that will allow you to sell less, and that will allow you to help other people. When people begin to see that you're actually wanting to help others, they are going to follow you. All right. So mixing all of that together, in other words, because we're dealing with a fast-paced environment, in other words, people want content fast. So you want to keep your tweets short. You want to have catchy headlines, but you want to avoid looking like you're selling. So you could look through a lot of really good copywriting headlines to grab people's attention. And I'm going to show you how to go about, getting those headlines that actually relate to your niche and that actually work really well without looking like a spammer, because that's what you don't want to look like. Now, what I want to do now is give you a bird's eye view of what's inside this video course. Obviously, this is video number 1. Video number 2, we're going to talk about what not to do. A lot of times it's easy to talk about what to do, but what if you make mistakes? What not to do? So we're going to talk about that in that video. Video number 3, we'll talk about researching, and researching is going to help you formulate your game plan. So we're going to research all sorts of things, and I'm going to show you the step-by-step process of doing that. So once you actually have done research, then you have created your game plan and you don't have to do as much research from that point on. So really it's that as a step. And then once you're past that, you can move on. And of course, video number 4, we'll talk about different types of content, how content is key, why it's important to distribute content, snippets of content, but not too much content. So in other words, you don't want to send people to links all the time. You want to give people content in snippets. But how do you do that is, of course, what we'll talk about in that video. And of course, video number 5, we'll talk about giveaways and how giveaways can help you boost your following. And we'll take it one step further in video number 6 and talk about authority giveaways. So these are types of giveaways that will allow you to build more authority quite easily. So in other words, the concern a lot of people have is that they get in Twitter, it takes them months and months or even years to build a decent following. And with giveaways, you can build a fast following, but you want to be careful about how you do it because you don't want to gain a lot of freebie seekers at the same time. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how to utilize giveaways to boost your authority. Now let's talk about what you need before you can actually get started. So obviously, very self-explanatory, you're going to need to have a Twitter account. Then next, you're going to need to have your website. You're going to need to have knowledge of the niche. So like I said earlier, it's very hard for someone that doesn't understand that niche. So if you hire someone, make sure that they understand it very well. A lot of times people hire virtual assistants and they have no knowledge whatsoever of the niche. So they're really going based off of the script. And if you do that, then guess what? People are going to reflect on that. They're going to see that your brand is fake, and that's what they're going to associate with you. So you have to be careful with that. So a lot of times when you hire somebody, look for somebody who actually has a background in that niche. And ultimately, what's going to happen is if you do that, most likely the person is going to be more passionate about the niche, and they're going to be able to talk about it in a much more thorough way. They're going to be able to use the jargon and all that. So in essence, that's a good way to bypass that roadblock, especially if you're doing something like affiliate marketing. And of course, you'll need some money if you want to utilize some tools to speed up the research. You don't need it, but like I said, I'm going to show you some tools that can actually speed things up. All right. So with that said, let's move on to video number 2. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 2, and we're going to talk about the things that you should avoid doing in terms of running your Twitter account. Now, some of these are very obvious and some of them are not. So let's just go through some of the basic ones. So obviously, you should not self-promote too much, especially in the beginning. What you're trying to do is you're trying to gain trust, you're trying to gain a following. So the less that you sell and the more that you give, the better of a following and the quality of the following you will actually get. In fact, contrary to belief, if you begin to do a lot of self-promotion or giveaways right off the bat before you grow good content, provide good content and all that, you'll get a lot of freebie seekers. Now, we will talk about giveaways in the sense of attracting people that are of your niche and that are of high quality, because there's a certain way of running giveaways and there's a certain way of not running giveaways. Because a lot of people, the way they run giveaways, they actually will attract freebie seekers, and that's not what you want, because if they buy your product, they will end up demanding a lot more from you later down the road. So obviously that's a big self-explanatory thing. Just don't promote yourself way too much, especially in the beginning. Another one is not responding to tweets. Whenever somebody tweets you or they even comment on your tweet, it's a good way and a good thing to respond back to them. Because otherwise, if you're not responding, you're not showing that you're engaging. To them, it shows that you're not interested in them. That's one thing that I've noticed whenever I was utilizing Twitter, was that the people that were highly engaged with those that were following with them, or even that were responding to their tweets, and they were responding back, a lot of them were actually really nice people. So really helpful people. And then you have people that are like, they don't even respond to any of their tweets. Now, obviously they can't respond to every single tweet, but if they're not really engaging, they are showing a little bit of authority, but it's more of like, it's kind of giving off that vibe of, I don't need to talk to you, I'm better than you, kind of thing. So you don't want to present yourself in that light as well, if that makes sense. So another thing I have noticed is too much negativity. Nobody wants to follow somebody who is just too negative. Yes, there is a time to, call out people, but for the most part, even if you are in the right, a lot of times that can be a negative thing. So especially in the beginning, you want to be positive, you want to stay positive, you want to give really good content and all of that. So another thing is spelling errors. Now, obviously with Twitter, because it's a fast-paced environment, sometimes you will make spelling mistakes, but for the most part, you should try to avoid them. And that's mainly because at the end of the day, people unfortunately do care about spelling. I don't know what it is, but with running in many different social media channels, we've found that over the years that people do care. When they see a lot of spelling mistakes, they view that as, not a big brand or not a brand, but maybe a smaller person. Now, another thing that I want to say is on Twitter, if you do a search real quick on Twitter, you'll notice that some people do not shorten their links. So you got to realize when you're dealing with Twitter. So if we do a search on a certain thing, so let's just do a search on trending right here. And we'll notice that a lot of the tweets are very short. It's because there's a max certain amount of characters. So because of that, when you are inserting links, you want to make sure that you're utilizing a URL shortening service. So there are many out there. There's one called Bitly. So Bitly, like so. bitly.com. So bitly.com. And you can go here, you can get started for free. For the most part, they're free. They do have some paid services, but you don't really need that. All you need is a service that will allow you to shorten your links and that will allow you to track them. So tracking is another important thing when it comes to Twitter, especially when you're running a business. If you just create a link for the sake of shortening a link and there's no tracking involved, you're not going to know if that Twitter tweet is actually getting traction or not. You might get a tweet that only gets a few comments, but it's got a lot of clicks. And that's something that I noticed as well, is not everybody will actually interact with you. All right, so Bitly is one that is really good. So do not, in other words, do not use the natural URL, the URL that you're going, that's linking to your website. You want to shorten it first and then post it to Twitter. So another thing that I would definitely say to avoid is hashtag abuse. In other words, you don't want to spam people with hashtags. Hashtags are a great way to get listed in a list of relevant hashtags. So if, say for example, you click on hashtags or you do a hashtag and you do something like, let's see, food or pizza. Let's get specific. So let's say pizza. So when somebody does a hashtag pizza, or they're looking for pizza. So that's fine and dandy. And you scroll down here. So all we see is pizza. Now, what I found is some people just put a bunch of hashtags, random hashtags, for the sake of getting attention. And you want to avoid that. You want to make sure that the hashtags are relevant or the hashtags relate to whatever you're trying to sell, or what are you trying to provide in terms of content. Now, we'll talk later about utilizing certain hashtags to attract a specific audience, which is a little cool trick that we'll show you in those videos in terms of doing research and all of that. Okay, so those are just a couple of things that you should never do. Now, you should definitely update your profile, upload images, upload your logo, and all of that good stuff. But I don't want to go into too much depth. There's probably a list of hundreds of things that you should avoid doing, but those are definitely the big ones. All right. So with that said, let's move on to the next video. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 3, and we're going to talk about research. Now, it's easy to want to just research just to research, but what I would recommend that you do is to, number one, try to be a part of the community, the niche, and just suck in for one day what it is all about. So you'll get an idea of what sites, what people recommend, what people like, what they don't, because different niches are different. Some like to utilize certain things, some like certain things, some don't like certain things. So that's what I'm saying is there's no really one size fits all. Now, what I like to do first is to figure out what Twitter accounts are actually doing well, which ones are getting engagement, and which ones are not. Based on the ones that are not, what are they doing wrong? Or what are they doing that is pushing people away from actually interacting with them? What are the Twitter accounts that are doing really well, and what are they doing right? And of course, what are they doing wrong, or what can they do to improve? So you're trying to figure all of that out, and while you're doing that, you want to gather hashtags that are doing really well. You want to gather an idea of the keywords, the things that they're doing to basically create more engagement. Now, what I like to do to kind of pinpoint things is to target in on big brands or brands specific to that niche that are doing pretty well. So we're going to utilize a very general keyword in the sense of weight, losing weight. This could be gaining muscle, could be losing weight. So in this case, it will be losing weight. So what I like to do is go to google.com and do a search for magazines. So most likely these magazines have a good Twitter following. So if we do lose weight, we got Weight Watchers magazine. So let's type in Weight Watchers and see what we get here. So a lot of times you type it in and let's see, can we get that? Weight Watchers. Okay, so this is them right here. Sometimes if you don't get the account right away, you'll just click on people and that will list the actual company or the actual people that you're trying to find. Okay, so we see that they have about 320,000 followers. And we scroll down, and what we're looking for here is engagement. All right, so we're looking for likes, engagement, retweets. So this one here, for example, this one here, this one has 3 comments, 3 retweets, and 7 likes. So if we scroll down further down and just take a look at the ones that are getting a lot of traction, so obviously this one's doing really well because it's got Oprah Winfrey on it, but you can see 39 comments, 36 retweets, 130 likes. Scroll down here. So it looks to me like they're mainly posting authority figures. So if we go here, let's just take some notes here. Weight Watchers. Bigger interaction is people who have maybe used the product that are getting success. Basically testimonials. Because people want to know if it worked for you, will it work for me? Not that 100% it'll work for them, but that's kind of what goes on in most people's brains. Okay, so we're noticing that they're not really posting, recipes or anything like that. They're simply posting stories of people. All right, so that's interesting. So that's one angle that you could potentially take if you have some sort of like lose weight product, is testimonials, stories, people of like your customers who are willing to share their story, kind of things like that. So that's what we can see is attracting at least people that are following this. Now let's go back over here and look and see if we can find a different magazine. So we got Weight Watchers. Looks like Shape, maybe. Shape looks like something for a target audience of women who like to lose, see, women's health. Okay, so let's just go back here and type in women's health. Women's health. Okay, so this one here. So they got 4 million followers, so they're most likely spending a lot of money and trying to figure out what is working. So let's scroll down. Let's see. Here she is 55. Okay. So just scrolling through here, I'm noticing whenever they post anything related to like makeup or anything, it doesn't seem to get a lot of traction. But the ones that are getting traction are very similar to the Weight Watcher ones, which are stories of people. Now they are listing food, which is also getting traction as well. So yummy tasting looking food. All right, so what this is giving us an idea of is the type of content that we could potentially provide. So we'll just do number 1 is stories. And number 2 is recipes in the form of like desserts. So people like to have this idea, especially in this niche, that most of the time they are not able to eat a lot of desserts because a lot of desserts are just unhealthy. So if they can eat foods and not gain weight, this is a big plus. All right, so we're seeing, based on the data, telling us that stories and recipes that look really yummy. All right, so we scroll down. All right, so let's go back over here. Remember we saw something, it was called Shape magazine. So we see that one right here. And let's do a scroll down and just get an idea of what is actually getting interactions as well. So we got inner thigh exercises. Scrolling down. Let's see here. So okay, so workouts, exercises, recipes. All right, so let's go back here and just type in exercises, workouts that help you lose weight. And that don't take a lot of time. Now, while you are doing this, you can also go back and look for hashtags. So like based on this information here, we can say lose weight recipes or weight loss recipe. So you notice how just now when I did a search for lose weight recipe, nothing showed up. But then when I changed it around and I wrote weight loss recipe, and now we're seeing stuff, that just shows us that that keyword is a good keyword for to be inside of your content. So content keywords. So I'm curious to know if that is a hashtag. So weight loss recipe. All right, so weight loss recipe. And we do a search to see what we get. So weight loss recipe, weight loss recipe. All right, so this gives you another good avenue of the different possible pieces of content that you could also provide. So a lot of times if you do get a hashtag that at least gets several pages worth of content, that's a good sign that tells you that that hashtag is attracting a good amount of people, especially if you have a lot of engagement as well. So that can be that. You can also do a search for latest, which will show you the most recent. And in this case, you want to see content that has been posted at least today or yesterday or very recently. All right. And we can see that that confirms it as well. So weight loss recipe would definitely be a good hashtag for us to rank on. So going back over here, we have recipes, exercises. Okay, so we did a search on Weight Watchers, shape, and women's health. And that way we know where the data came from. So that's what I would do. That's basically all I would do, is simply go through it, look for more magazines, and try to find a pattern here. If you notice that out of the 10 different accounts that you looked at, they all have very similar things. They have stories, they have recipes, and they have exercises. That's something that you definitely want to look into and try to do yourself. So you're not exactly plagiarizing, because you're not copying the content. You're not utilizing their websites and copying their content on their websites and all of that. You're simply gathering kind of a general view of what is actually working. So we can click on people to see what people are they utilizing this hashtag or not. So let's just type weight loss under people and see what we get. All right. And we got photos, videos, and more. So that's your goal, and that's really your homework that you should be doing, is just do the research, type in the magazines. There's just about a magazine for just every niche or general niche. So just utilize this and repeat and repeat and repeat. All right. So by doing this, you will have the information that you need to create the content that we'll talk about in the next step. All right. So with that said, let's move on to the next video. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 4, and we're going to talk about content and how you can go about taking what we just learned in the previous video, doing the research, finding the keywords, finding what people like and what they want to engage in with. So if we pull that up here, remember we did a search on weight loss magazines, Weight Watchers, Shape, and Women's Health. We found that they like stories, testimonials, basically showing that it works for other people. And essentially those would also include things like side-by-side pictures, like one picture over here and how they've, went through maybe Weight Watchers and then or weight loss, and then you see another picture of them having lost weight. Then of course we have content in the form of maybe recipes and in the form of exercises. Now, how do you go about replicating this if you don't have a lot of this content already? Well, right out the bat, if you don't have a lot of testimonials, you can go straight to recipes or to exercises. Now, how do you go about doing that, getting people's attention as they're scrolling through hashtags? Well, as we know, psychologically and over the years, it's been proven that images work. But not only any images, but images that are often non-threatening, which are basically cartoons. So if you've noticed over the years, you might have seen ads with cartoons, especially in the area of weight loss, relationships, money, and more. Now, this is how we're going to go about doing it. We are going to simply, let's say we went through here and we found, let's say, a workout that is working out really, really well. So instead of including tons and tons of words and just images here, what we're going to do is you don't necessarily have to plagiarize, but you can just simply follow the workout. So maybe you find a workout that works really well in terms of losing weight. And instead of taking pictures of you, you want to post something perhaps more non-threatening. So you can either do it in several different ways. You can either use a app called Get Stencil, that's getstencil.com, and you can use this to create quotes. You can use this to create different words that stand out. And that's what I would do. Instead of posting tons and tons of text and only text and that's it, and hashtags, I would post both text, hashtags, and images. Now, like I said, Get Stencil is mainly for things like quotes and words. But if you want to, let's say, convert an image, and let's say you have a workout that works really well, you can send your images to an artist and have the artist turn those images into cartoons. So one site that we recommend going to is called Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com. And if you go to the site, you'll be able to find a lot of people who can create amazing cartoons. Now, some of them look really cheesy. The goal of this is to simply find an artist that fits what you're looking for. So if you're scrolling down and you see, okay, this person creates designs that are similar to what I'm looking for, then you might want to open that up. So basically, just scroll down, take a look to see if you can find somebody who is creating designs and cartoons that fit that character. Now, what I recommend that you do is once you have found an artist on Fiverr that creates exactly what you like, stick with them. Okay, so that way all of your cartoons look consistent. If you have 5 different cartoon artists creating 5 different types of styles, it's going to be very obvious to those that are following you that there's something not right. They might think that you're just taking those from online and just simply posting them. But if you have a somewhat of a consistency, and if you're, let's say, for example, that you're using this person here and they're creating people that are working out, or, I mean, you can make it funny. If you find that in your niche that they're not using humans, they're using some like animal or something that is very non-threatening. And what that does is because it's non-threatening, people are more likely to click. So once you've gotten them to click, and if you got really good content from that point on, then they're most likely going to stay and continue to follow you. So that's a little bit of a tip, is to take a workout or take something of a graphic that's working really well and then converting it to a cartoon and sticking with the artist. Now, in terms of Fiverr and how you can go about finding really good artists, it's like the question goes, how do you know if they're good or if they're not? The way you can tell is simply by looking at their designs and seeing if there's some consistency. So I know I talk a lot about consistency, but that is going to help you figure out if they're plagiarizing, are they copying from other artists, or do they actually know how to draw? So if we take a look at this guy here, you see how his people and his animals look very similar. that tells us that he is actually drawing those. So for example, this one here is mainly anime, but we can see the design, the style is very similar. So if we go here, it says, I will create a cartoon ready for animation. So this is actually very interesting. This guy creates a cartoon with body parts. So you can have him create a certain type of person and then create different arms, different motions. That way you can have them move, essentially. So this is really good. This is actually very interesting. So you can have them create different faces, different body poses, different motions of the hand, the arms, different things. Okay, so this guy's is actually very decent. This is very interesting right here. I would actually hire this person right here. So if you go to Fiverr.com, look for Oleg, Dovgan. So Oleg Dovgan. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but go here, look for this guy. If we look at his reviews, we can see that for the most part, he's got 51 5-star reviews, and for 4-star reviews, he doesn't have any 3, 1, 2, or 3. That's a good sign. We can see that he charges about $20 to do 2 facial expressions. So what I would do is I would start out maybe with the basic one, and if you like it, you can always add more facial expressions, body, arms, and more. But obviously you can see that it's a lot more cheaper if you go with the premium right off the bat. So he does 6 facial expressions, 2 trunk, 3 sets of legs, 8 arms, and 8 additional items. So this guy is actually pretty interesting. I'm glad I looked at this because this is something that we could actually use and create a form of consistency, especially if you create a mascot or a person that looks similar over and over again in terms of either an animal or a female or a male, depending on the demographic that you're trying to target. So that's what I would do also. If your main target is women, you might want to ask the person to create a woman. If your main target is mostly men, then of course, that said, go ahead and create a man. So that's what I would do in terms of content goes. In terms of hashtags, I would utilize the hashtags that we did some research on and that were working really well for us. Now I'll talk more about hashtags and a specific really ninja cool tactic that you can use in the last video, but in the next video, we're going to talk about giveaways. And once you get your account running, how do you go about expanding it without attracting a lot of freebie seekers? All right, so with that said, let's move on to the next video. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 5, and we're going to talk about giveaways and how you can utilize them properly to drive more traffic to your Twitter account, get you more followers, and get you where you want to be so that you can build a bigger list and you can convert those leads into potential sales. Now, there's a wrong way to run a giveaway, and of course, there is a right way to run a giveaway. What I mean by that is the wrong way is to simply attract freebie seekers or attract people who have nothing to do with your niche. So if we go to Twitter here and we type in hashtag giveaway, we can see a lot of people running different types of giveaways. So this gives you a general overall view of giveaways. So if we scroll down here, some of these people are giving something actually related to their business. So for example, Power Direct, I assume is a company. It looks like a company, an electrical retailer company. So they sell a bunch of electrical items, and it looks like they're giving away a auto steam iron. Now, I'm not sure exactly if Power Direct is a company that develops irons. I'm not sure. So if we click here, we can see that they mainly sell appliances. So they sell dishwashers, all sorts of things, TVs and all that. So to me, that's very broad, and it might make sense to have a giveaway, but you're still not attracting, you might not be attracting someone who might be wanting a dishwasher or wanting other items that you actually sell. If you're giving away an iron, or if you're giving away, let's say, a sewing machine, and you're attracting people who like quilting, people who like sewing of some sort, maybe some arts or crafts, maybe you're selling a course on sewing. So that would make sense in that case to have a giveaway, to give away a sewing machine. So in this case, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's too broad and too general. In that case, I would not run a giveaway for that. I would want something a lot more specific. Now, if we scroll down to the bottom, a lot of it says like retweet, follow me, retweet me, or retweet this thing, comment below, and all that. Now, this one only says retweet and follow me and follow this person. It doesn't say anything about commenting or anything like that. So what I would do is make sure that people comment. If you can get other people to comment even the hashtag that you're using, that can actually effectively help you rank on that hashtag. So if the hashtag in that case earlier was, let's say, a sewing machine giveaway, if you say comment below hashtag sewing machine giveaway and maybe a comment related to that, then those people commenting will actually help your ranking. See, they're making a mistake here. And even though they might be having a targeted giveaway, they're making a mistake in the sense that they're not asking the people who are trying to win that contest to help them rank that post. So if you do that, that's one little trick. Get them all to comment, retweet, like, but not just comment anything, comment the actual hashtag. So we have hashtag giveaway, which is fine, but what you're doing here is you're attracting everybody who is interested in a giveaway. So in that case, we may not want to do that. Hashtags and all of that, which I'll talk about in the next video, is very important what you use. So if we scroll down further down and look at the different giveaways that are available, you can see here. Okay, so this is a good targeted giveaway. This is a good example of one. This person is selling, or this company is selling lemonades. So if we take a look at them, so they're called Calypso Lemonades. They sell different types of flavors of lemonade. And as we scroll down, looks like they do a lot of giveaways, and looks like they're actually getting a lot of interaction. All right, so they're very consistent on the type of giveaway that they are giving. Okay, so that's a big plus. One thing that they could do is shorten their URL here, and there's a lot of caps in lowercase, and it's just kind of confusing as to what is what. But I will give them props. It is targeted, and that's good. So if we click down here, let's just click this tweet here and see what kind of comments they're getting. So they're saying, starting today, enter for your chance to win at blank blank. Good luck. So they don't really tell you what to do. When you run a giveaway, you need to tell people what they need to do. So like I showed you earlier, comment, retweet, or comment this hashtag, retweet, and like. So as we can see here, it says this person commented, I just entered, found out about y'all, and my life changed or something because of your lemonade. So if we scroll down, so it's interesting to me because these people did not ask for a comment, yet they were able to get a lot of good comments. And the comments aren't just random, they actually relate to the lemonade. But you believe it or not, they could actually double their comments if they simply ask people to comment. So you might have, let's say, 141 likes, but there's only 56 comments. If you ask people, the requirement is also to comment, they would have gotten 141 comments if they got 141 likes. Now, that's not guaranteed, but we're just saying we're trying to expand the interaction here. So what they could do is they could do hashtag lemonade giveaway and ask people to comment down below that, and of course how their product has actually helped people. So essentially what they're doing is they are giving away what people already want. And that is why they are building a targeted list. They are building a targeted following. People get what they want. So in other words, another thing you could do is do giveaways with coupons. If you're launching a product, you could say, okay, so for every one of you who comments down below, I'm going to choose 10 winners. And you could choose those 10 winners. And then for the people that did not win, you could give them coupons like 10% off coupon to your product. And they're going to be happy because that's what they wanted in the first place. So in other words, don't run a giveaway for like an Amazon card. Now, you could say that they could buy a product that is related, but then you're going to attract other people that just want your Amazon cards that have nothing to do with your niche. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm not going to go into too much because I want you to take action. I want you to take this information and apply it. So remember, targeted giveaways are key. Get them to comment, get them to retweet, and of course, get them to like. Now, in addition to that, one thing that can help you choose a person, let's say, for example, you have hundreds of comments and likes, but you don't know who to choose as a winner. So there are some tools out there. You can actually go to google.com, do a search for like random tweet picker. And one in specific it's called TweetDraw. And if you go to competitionagency.com, that's competitionagency.com/TweetDraw. A lot of these tools actually require that you log in. So you need to log in and then you simply paste the URL of your giveaway. So I can't really show you that to you now because I'm logged into a brand new account that I created just for this video course. But you log in, you simply enter the URL and it will choose a random winner. You can take a screenshot of that and then show people that you actually utilize this tool. And that way they know it's random. Otherwise, if you just pick someone that you like, that's not really random. So that's as easy as it gets. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to take that giveaway to the next level and get more traffic. All right. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 6, and we're going to talk about how you can multiply your giveaway in the sense of broadening our reach and getting access to more audiences that would be interested in what you're selling. So you really have to think a little bit for this one because you really need to know what you're selling. So let's start off where we left off in the previous video with the Calypso lemonade. So as we talked about in the previous video, this particular one sells lemonade. So we have to think, okay, what other audiences are interested in lemonade? So we can think of people who go out on the beaches, they're thirsty, they're looking for lemonade to drink. So in that case, what we could do is we could begin to look for beaches in certain areas that sell Calypso lemonade. So if we happen to find a beach, we could do hashtag beach, that particular beach. If we find out that maybe there's a Calypso lemonade store in a specific city, we could hashtag that specific city or location or wherever. So that's what happens here is you're not just targeting that particular, your followers, you're also targeting people who are going to want your product, if that makes sense. So you really have to think on this one, and you have to think carefully because it requires you to think about where your audiences are located. Now, if you're selling something that is just generic, let's say a weight loss product or course, then you're going to want to think, okay, where are these people located? Maybe you can target New Year's hashtags around that time of the year. You can target specific diets, maybe the paleo diet, or specific diets that help people lose weight that are targeted specific for that. Or you can target specific authorities that talk about weight loss. Maybe you could potentially, it's not in direct competition with them, but it's actually something that complements whatever that they are trying to sell. Now, you have to really be careful about tagging authorities. You might want to ask them first before you tag them. And the reason why you want to do that is because if you do that, you'll get their permission and you won't look spammy. One thing that people really hate is to be tagged in something and they did not give you permission at all. If you do that, it can actually help, but it can also backfire. They themselves, if they have a big following, they can call you out on that, and that will not look good on you. So you have to be very careful. It's kind of like a JV. You need to contact them first and say, hey, can I use, tag your followers? And if I tag your followers, I'm going to give your followers XYZ. So it's a win-win situation. And also you're going to get more exposure because I'm doing the same with these other 10 authority figures. So in turn, you will get more exposure. I'll be happy to promote your product and vice versa. So it's kind of like you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back kind of thing. But you want to make sure that it is targeted, that it is not some random Amazon card, but it's actually something that your followers are going to be interested in and their followers are going to be interested in, vice versa. So that's as simple as it gets as far as trying to expand your reach. All right, congratulations, you've reached the end of this video course. Make sure that you watch it again if you want to recap and try to implement it, but don't sit on this, implement this and start